Picture a Kansas wheat field torn by a raging storm where a girl's screams were drowned by betrayal. I'm Emma Davis, and at 14, my little brother Caleb's vile abuse left me pregnant with his child, a secret that burned my soul. But the nightmare didn't end there. My father, Walter, a tyrant who worshipped his son, unleashed his fists on me, shattering my body, blaming me for a sin I never chose. Trapped in a house of horrors, I cradled my unborn son Noah as Caleb's chilling threats echoed, "You'll never escape." Every step toward freedom was crushed by my father's rage, his boots stomping my hope into dust. Yet, one devastating secret, buried for decades, would rip my world apart and set me free. Can I break the chains, or will their evil destroy us? Stay for a twist so gut-wrenching it'll leave you speechless. If this grabs your heart, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Let's unite in strength. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and don't miss a second of this soul-shattering tale of betrayal, survival, and a mother's fierce love. The truth will blow your mind. That Kansas wheat field wasn't just a storm of nature. It was the crucible where my life was forged in betrayal and pain. I'm Emma Davis, and I'm here to rip open a story so raw it'll sear your soul, a tale of a girl who faced the unthinkable and fought to rise above it. If you felt the jolt of my words just now, hold on tight, because this journey through hell and hope will grip you to the core. If you've ever been betrayed by those you loved, comment, "I'm here" below, and let's walk this path together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and keep this truth alive. Picture Willow Creek, Kansas, in the 1980s, a small farming town where golden wheat swayed under endless skies, and secrets festered like rot beneath the surface. It was the kind of place where neighbors waved but never pried, where church bells rang louder than cries for help. Our house, a sagging farmhouse on the town's edge, was no sanctuary. It was a battlefield. The walls reeked of motor oil and whiskey, the air thick with my father's rage. Walter Davis, my father, was a towering mechanic with fists like anvils and a temper that could burn a field to ash. To him, I was nothing, a daughter, a burden, a shadow in his world. "You're a waste of space, Emma," he'd snarl, his voice a whip that stung deeper than his hands. His pride, his golden boy, was my little brother, Caleb. Caleb Davis, 5 years my junior, was 10 when I first saw the darkness in him. With his piercing green eyes and a grin that could charm a snake, he was Willow Creek's darling, sharp-witted, handsome, the town's future star. Neighbors fawned, saying, "That boy's gonna run this town." But I saw what they didn't. Those eyes didn't just shine, they smoldered, tracking me with a hunger that made my skin crawl. Walter worshipped him, tossing him tools in the garage, boasting, "Caleb's my blood, a real man." They'd laugh over crude jokes, Caleb mimicking Walter's swagger, while I faded into the corners, invisible unless I faltered. My mother, Grace, was a wraith in our home. Small, frail, her hands calloused from endless chores, her spirit broken by Walter's fists. She'd murmur, "Stay quiet, Emma, it'll pass," her eyes avoiding mine, as if silence could shield us from the storm. I was 9 when Caleb's shadow first touched me. Subtle but chilling. He'd hug me too tightly, his small hands lingering on my waist, his breath warm against my ear. "You're my favorite, Emma," he'd whisper, and I'd stiffen, a knot forming in my gut. I'd push him away saying, "Stop, Caleb," but he'd giggle like it was a game. Walter saw it and beamed, proud of his boy's affection. "Look at Caleb, watching out for his sister," he'd say, blind to the poison brewing. Grace saw it too. Once, I caught her staring, her face pale, but she turned away, scrubbing dishes with trembling hands. Her silence was a betrayal, louder than any shout, leaving me to face a monster alone. In Willow Creek, girls didn't speak out. We obeyed, we endured, we survived. Or we didn't. Our farmhouse was a prison of warped boards and broken dreams. The living room was a clutter of tools and empty bottles, the kitchen a haze of grease and despair. Walter and Grace shared a bedroom, its door always locked, while Caleb and I were crammed into a back room, our bed so close I could hear his breathing. As kids, we'd been allies. He'd race me through the wheat fields, show me how to catch fireflies. But as I grew, his gaze changed, turning possessive, predatory. By 11, he'd sneak into my bed, claiming nightmares. "Don't tell," he'd whisper, his fingers tracing my arm. I'd lie rigid, praying he'd leave, but the darkness in him was waking, and I was its target. Grace tried to protect me in her feeble way. She'd tug Caleb back to his bed, her voice soft but shaking. "Go to sleep, boy," she'd say, but Walter would laugh it off. "Let him be close, that's family." Family. The word was a lie, tasting of ash and fear. To Walter, family meant Caleb was king, and I was a servant, born to bow. "You'll never be half the man your brother is," he'd sneer, shoving me aside to praise Caleb's latest stunt. The town echoed his worship. Teachers called Caleb a prodigy, girls blushed at his grin. But behind our splintered front door, a nightmare was brewing, one that would shatter my body and soul. The 1980s in Willow Creek were a time of stifling tradition. Women stayed silent, abuse was private, and girls like me were taught to bear their pain. No one questioned Grace's bruises or my hollow eyes. Church ladies preached forgiveness, their smiles as sharp as their judgment. I learned to hide my fear, to smile when Caleb's hand lingered, to lie when neighbors asked why I flinched at loud voices. But inside, I was screaming, begging for someone to see me, to save me. If you're out there, carrying that same silent weight, comment, "I'm here." Your voice matters, and so does mine. This story is for you, for every girl trapped in a house that's more cage than home. As you hear what's coming, you'll witness a betrayal so cruel it'll make your blood run cold, a fight for survival that'll tear your heart, and a secret so devastating it'll change everything. Don't turn away, because what happened in that Wheatfield house set the stage for a war I never chose but had to win. Caleb's darkness, Walter's fists, Grace's silence, they were the sparks that lit a fire in me, one that would either burn me alive or set me free. If this story's pulling you in, smash that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's keep this truth blazing. The worst is yet to come, and you won't believe the battle ahead. You're still with me, and I'm grateful. Because the storm that tore through that Kansas wheat field is about to unleash its full fury. My name's Emma Davis, and what I'm about to share will chill your blood and break your heart. The betrayal I faced in that Willow Creek farmhouse wasn't just a wound. It was a war, one that tested every ounce of my strength. If you felt the weight of my story so far, brace yourself, because the darkness is closing in, and it's uglier than you can imagine. Comment "I'm here" below, and let's face this together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. I was 9 when Caleb's shadow first crept into my life, but by 11, it had claws. Our bedroom in Willow Creek, Kansas, was a suffocating trap, the walls pressing in as my little brother's obsession grew. Caleb was 12, his green eyes sharp as knives, his voice too knowing for his age. He'd slip into my bed at night, his breath hot against my neck, whispering, "You're mine, Emma, always mine." I'd freeze, my heart hammering, praying it was a bad dream. But his hands were real, tracing my arms, lingering where they shouldn't. I'd shove him away, hissing, "Get out, Caleb!" He'd laugh, low and chilling, like he knew I was powerless. In that house, I tried to tell my mother, Grace, one evening as she peeled potatoes, her hands trembling under the weight of Walter's shadow. "Caleb's scaring me, Mom," I said, my voice barely a whisper. Her knife paused, her eyes darting to the door, fear etched in her face. I saw it, she knew, but she shook her head, her voice brittle. "He's just a boy, Emma. Don't make trouble." Her words were a slap, her silence a cage. I stood there, a child begging for safety, but all I got was a mother too broken to fight. Grace's fear of Walter was a chain, and I was bound by it, left to face a monster alone. Walter, my father, was Caleb's armor. He'd stumble home from the garage, reeking of whiskey, his laughter booming as he tossed Caleb a wrench. "That's my boy!" he'd roar, their bond a fortress I couldn't breach. To Walter, Caleb was a god, smart, strong, his legacy. "Why can't you be like your brother?" he'd snap at me, his eyes cold as steel. I was invisible unless I erred, and then his fist spoke. Once, when I burned dinner, he grabbed my arm, his grip bruising. "You're useless," he growled, shoving me to the floor. Caleb watched, his smirk a silent victory, knowing he was untouchable. By 13, Caleb's games turned vicious. He'd wait until the house slept, the only sound Grace's soft snores and Walter's drunken mutters. He'd creep to my bed, his weight sinking the mattress, his hands no longer hesitant. "Don't scream," he'd hiss, pinning my wrists, his voice a venomous growl. "Dad'll think you're lying, and you know what he does to liars." I knew. Grace's black eyes, her cracked ribs, were proof. So I bit my pillow, tears soaking the cotton, as Caleb stole pieces of me I'd never reclaim. Each night, I'd curl up praying for dawn, but morning only brought more shame, my body a map of secrets I couldn't tell. School was a false refuge. Willow Creek's one-room schoolhouse buzzed with praise for Caleb. Teachers called him gifted, girls swooned over his charm. I'd slink to the back, hiding the shadows under my eyes, my grades slipping as fear consumed me. My teacher, Miss Ellis, noticed once. "Emma, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice gentle. I wanted to spill everything, to scream about Caleb's hands, but his threat loomed. "I'll tell Dad you're sneaking with boys." So I lied. "Just tired, ma'am." She frowned, unconvinced, but didn't push. In Willow Creek, no one pushed. Secrets were buried deeper than the wheat roots. The nightmare peaked at 14 on a sweltering July night in 1987. Caleb was 17, his cruelty honed to a razor's edge. He didn't sneak in. He forced his way, his hands rough, his voice a snarl. "You're mine, Emma, and you'll learn to like it." I fought, clawing his face, but he was too strong, his laughter a blade in my chest. The pain was a fire, consuming my body and soul, a violation I couldn't escape. When it was over, he stood, wiping blood from his cheek. "Clean up," he sneered, leaving me trembling, my innocence in shards. Days later, nausea hit like a freight train, my breasts aching, my period late. I counted weeks on my fingers, panic rising. 2 months gone. Sitting on the bathroom floor, I retched, not from sickness, but terror. I was 14, pregnant with Caleb's child. The truth was a death sentence. Who could I tell? Grace, who'd turned away. Walter, who'd kill me. I wrapped my arms around my knees, sobbing, alone in a house that was more grave than home. I hid it, stealing Walter's flannel shirts, wrapping my waist in rags until they cut my skin. But a pregnant girl's body betrays her. One morning, Grace caught me dressing, her eyes locking on my swollen belly. "Emma," she gasped, her face ashen. "What have you done?" I broke, sobs racking me. "It's Caleb, Mom. He did this." Her arms encircled me, but her silence screamed louder than her tears. "We'll handle it," she whispered, her voice hollow, but I knew she was as trapped as I was. The secret was a bomb, and it was ticking. This is just the start. The storm's about to explode, and it's more brutal than you can imagine. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe and comment, I'm here to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The truth is coming, and it's a fire you won't believe. The truth of my pregnancy was a noose tightening around my neck, each day in that Willow Creek farmhouse a step closer to disaster. I was 14, carrying my brother Caleb's child, my body a traitor under Walter's wrath and Grace's silence. The shame burned hotter than the Kansas sun, but I clung to the life inside me, a spark of hope in a world gone dark. If you're still here, feeling this terror grip your heart, thank you. Comment "I'm here" below, and let's face this inferno together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. By August 1987, My belly was a secret I could barely hide, even under Walter's oversized shirts. The rags I tied around my waist cut into my skin, each breath a reminder of Caleb's crime. Willow Creek's eyes were merciless. Neighbors at the feed store whispered, their glances sharp as thorns. "That Davis girl's looking thick," Mrs. Larson muttered, her voice dripping venom. I'd mumble excuses, hurrying away, my heart pounding like a trapped bird. Caleb knew. He saw the way I moved, the fear in my eyes. One evening as I scrubbed dishes, he leaned close, his breath hot. "That's my kid, isn't it?" he whispered, his smirk a blade. I dropped a glass, its shatter echoing my dread. "Leave me alone," I hissed, but he gripped my arm, nails biting. "Tell anyone, and Dad'll think you seduced me. You know what he does to whores." His green eyes gleamed, and I shuddered, trapped by his lies. Grace's attempts to help were feeble, her guilt a heavy shroud. She'd slip me extra cornbread, brew bitter teas for my nausea, but her eyes never met mine. "Just a little longer," she'd murmur, as if time could erase Caleb's sin. But time was my enemy. By 6 months, my belly was undeniable, a truth that would ignite Walter's rage. I stopped going to school, claiming sickness, but the town's whispers grew louder. "Emma's in trouble," the church ladies clucked, their pity sharper than their scorn. I was a prisoner in that farmhouse, my world shrinking to its creaking walls, my only solace the baby's kicks, a fighter, like me, refusing to break. Caleb's cruelty sharpened, his visits a nightly torment. He'd slip into my room, his shadow swallowing the moonlight, his hands claiming what wasn't his. "You're mine forever," he'd growl, his knife glinting on the nightstand. I'd lie still, tears soaking my pillow, my mind fleeing to a place where pain couldn't reach. But his words lingered, a poison seeping into my soul. "That kid'll be just like me." The thought was a scream in my chest. I'd die before letting my baby become Caleb's mirror. I started hiding a kitchen knife under my mattress, its cold steel a desperate vow to fight back, even if it killed me. I tried confiding in Mr. Thompson, our neighbor, one Sunday after church. His kind eyes had always felt safe, but when I whispered, "Caleb's hurting me," his face paled. "Emma, you can't say that," he said, glancing at the farmhouse. "Walter'd burn my fields." He pressed $1 into my hand and walked away, leaving me with nothing but fear. Willow Creek's code of silence was ironclad. Abuse was family business, and I was its scapegoat. I'd sob alone in the barn, my belly heavy, begging the stars for a way out, but the stars were as silent as Grace. The explosion came on a frigid November night in 1987. Walter staggered home, drunker than usual, his boots shaking the floorboards. He'd been at the tavern, bragging about Caleb's football skills, while I hid in my room, my shawl draped over my belly. Grace was darning socks, her hands trembling, when Walter's voice thundered, "Emma, get out here!" My stomach dropped. I shuffled out, head down, praying he'd ignore me. But his bloodshot eyes locked on my frame, narrowing as they traced the bulge beneath my shawl. "What's that?" he roared, lunging forward. I clutched the fabric, but he tore it away, my 7-month belly exposed like a raw wound. "You filthy slut!" Walter bellowed, his face purple with rage. "Who did this? Who's the bastard?" I opened my mouth, fear choking my words. Grace stepped forward, her voice quaking. "Walter, please!" He backhanded her, sending her crashing to the floor, blood dripping from her lip. "Shut up!" he snarled, turning to me. "Speak, or I'll beat it out of you." Tears streamed as I stammered. It wasn't my fault. But Caleb sauntered in, his smirk cold as ice. "I knew it," he said, voice smooth as venom. "I saw her with Joey Clark sneaking in the alley. Tried to warn you, Dad, but you wouldn't listen." Joey Clark, a quiet 16-year-old who bagged groceries, had never even looked at me. But Caleb's lie was gasoline on Walter's fury. "That Clark kid," Walter roared, grabbing his belt. "I'll skin him alive." He turned on me, the belt cracking like a whip. "You've shamed us!" The first blow struck my back, pain searing through me. I fell, shielding my belly as the belt lashed down, each strike a vow to destroy me. "You're no daughter of mine!" he screamed, his voice a storm. Grace sobbed, crawling toward me, but Walter kicked her away. Caleb watched, arms crossed, his eyes glinting with triumph, the architect of my ruin. The beating stopped when I could barely breathe, my body a canvas of welts and blood. Walter staggered back, panting, and spat on the floor. "Get her out of my sight," he growled. Grace dragged me to my room, her hands shaking as she dabbed my wounds with a rag. "I'm so sorry, Emma," she whispered, tears mixing with mine. But sorry was a hollow word. Caleb's lie had won, and I was the outcast. Willow Creek swallowed the story. Emma, the fallen girl, seduced Joey Clark and disgraced the Davises. Joey's family fled town, hounded by Walter's threats while I was locked away, a pariah in my own home. Caleb's torment didn't pause. One night, as I lay bruised and aching, he slipped in, his knife tracing my belly. "That's my kid," he whispered, his breath hot. "You'll never be free." I recoiled, my hand inching toward my hidden knife, but his smirk stopped me. "Try it, Emma. Dad'll bury you." He left, his laughter a chain around my heart, the baby's kicks my only defiance. This is only the beginning. The fire's about to rage hotter, and it's more brutal than you can imagine. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe, and comment, "I'm here to stand with me." Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The battle's just starting, and you won't believe what's next. Walter's belt had carved rivers of pain across my body, but the shame of being branded Willow Creek's disgrace burned deeper. I was 14, 7 months pregnant with my brother Caleb's child, locked in a farmhouse that reeked of whiskey and despair. My baby's kicks were my only lifeline, a silent vow to fight through this hell. If you're still here feeling my agony, thank you. Comment "I'm here" below, and let's endure this together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. November 1987 was a prison of ice and fear. My belly, now impossible to hide, was a scarlet letter in Willow Creek's eyes. The town had devoured Caleb's lie about Joey Clark, painting me as the seductress who'd ruined a good boy. Church ladies shunned me, their whispers like venom. "That Davis girl's a shame." I was confined to the farmhouse, my world a cage of peeling walls and Walter's wrath. Grace, my mother, moved like a ghost, slipping me scraps of bread, her hands trembling as she cleaned my wounds. "Hold on, Emma," she'd whisper, but her eyes were empty, crushed by years of Walter's fists. I wanted to hate her, but pity choked my anger. Her silence was her own prison. Caleb's torment was relentless, his green eyes glinting with ownership. He'd corner me in the hallway, his knife a cold threat against my belly. "That kid's gonna be mine," he'd sneer, his breath hot with malice. "You'll raise him, but I'll shape him." I'd recoil, bile rising, my hidden kitchen knife a desperate comfort under my mattress. "You'll never touch him," I spat once, my voice shaking. He laughed, his hand grazing my cheek. "Try me, Emma. Dad'll break your neck." His words were a noose, tightening with each visit. But my baby's kicks fueled my defiance. I'd die before letting Caleb claim him. I planned escape in stolen moments, hiding nickels in a sock, memorizing bus routes from a tattered schedule I'd found. But Willow Creek was a trap. Neighbors watched, loyal to Walter's growl, and the bus station was a 10-mile walk through open fields. I tried confiding in Miss Ellis, my old teacher, slipping her a note. "Caleb's hurting me." She read it, her face paling, but handed it back. "Emma, don't stir trouble," she said, her voice low. "Your father's a mean man." Her fear was a mirror of Grace's, leaving me alone again. I'd sob in the barn, my belly heavy, the baby's movements a plea to survive. The final blow came in January 1988, 8 months pregnant, when Walter caught me sneaking food from the pantry. "Thieving now, you slut!" he roared, grabbing a poker from the fireplace. The first strike hit my shoulder, pain exploding like a grenade. I fell, shielding my belly as the poker swung again, grazing my side. "You've ruined us!" he screamed, his face a mask of hate. Grace threw herself between us, her voice raw. "Stop, Walter! You'll kill her!" He shoved her head hitting the wall with a sickening thud. Blood trickled from her temple, but she crawled to me, sobbing. "Run, Emma," she gasped, her eyes wild with guilt. I staggered to my room, blood seeping through my shirt, the baby kicking frantically. Walter's voice thundered, "You're dead to me!" Grace followed, bandaging me with shaking hands. "I'm sorry," she cried, but her apology was ash. Too late to save me. Caleb slipped in later, his knife glinting. "You're tough, sis," he mocked, tracing my bruise. "But that kid's mine, don't forget." I gripped my hidden knife, my hand trembling, but his smirk stopped me. He held all the power. "One day, I'll take him," he said, leaving me in darkness, the baby's kicks my only light. I vowed to escape, not just for me, but for this child I'd named Noah in my heart, a name for hope, for survival. I watched Walter's drunken patterns, Caleb's late-night prowls, Grace's fleeting glances of regret. The knife under my mattress was my secret, its blade a promise to fight. But Caleb was vigilant, his knife always ready, his threats a constant drum. One night, he caught me counting my nickels, his grip bruising my wrist. "Planning a trip?" he sneered, snatching the sock. "You'll never leave, Emma. I own you." He tossed the coins, their clatter a death knell, but Noah's kick sparked rage in me. I'd find a way, or die trying. I reached out to Riley Parker, a 16-year-old rebel who worked at the diner, her defiance a beacon. I'd seen her at church, her bold laugh cutting through Willow Creek's gloom. One Sunday, I slipped her a note. "Help me." She met me in the alley, her eyes sharp. "What's Caleb done?" she asked, no judgment. I broke, whispering, "He got me pregnant." Her face hardened. "We'll get you out," she said, her voice steel. Riley became my spark, smuggling food, plotting escape, but Caleb's eyes were everywhere, his knife a shadow I couldn't shake. The tension was a live wire, Walter's rage a storm waiting to break. I was a prisoner, my belly a target, Noah's life my only reason to breathe. Caleb's lie had turned Willow Creek against me, but Riley's fire gave me hope. The battle was coming, and I'd fight with everything I had. This fire's about to erupt, and it's more savage than you can imagine. Don't turn away. Smash that like button. Subscribe and comment. I'm here to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The war's just begun, and you won't believe what's next. Caleb's scream, "This isn't over," chased me through the wheat fields as Evelyn's truck roared away from Willow Creek, Kansas. I was 14, 8 months pregnant with Noah, my leg bleeding from Caleb's knife, my heart pounding with the weight of escape. The farmhouse, with Walter's fists and Grace's silence, was a fading nightmare, but my brother's pursuit was a fire I couldn't outrun. If you're still here, feeling this terror sear my soul, thank you. Comment, "I'm here" below, and let's fight for freedom together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. January 1988 was a frozen gauntlet, each mile a battle to keep Noah safe. The bus station was 10 miles from Willow Creek, a flickering beacon in the snow-dusted dark. Evelyn drove like a woman possessed, her hands gripping the wheel, her eyes scanning for Caleb's motorcycle. My leg throbbed, blood soaking my shawl, but Noah's kicks were a drumbeat of defiance. "He's close," Evelyn warned, her voice tight. "That boy's got the devil in him." I nodded, clutching my sock of coins, Grace's locket heavy against my chest. The locket, her mother's, a relic of love, was my only tie to a family I was leaving behind, a reminder of Grace's plea. Be safe. The station loomed, its neon sign a frail promise. Evelyn parked, her truck hidden behind a grain silo. "Tickets in your name, Sarah Wilson," she said, using my fake ID. "Clara's waiting in Seattle." I hugged her, tears freezing on my cheeks. "Thank you," I choked out. She shook her head. "Just live, Emma. For that boy." I stumbled to the ticket counter, Noah heavy inside me, my knife tucked in my coat. The clerk, a bored woman with tired eyes, handed me a ticket to Seattle. Bus leaves in 10, she said. I sank into a corner seat, scanning the crowd, every shadow a potential Caleb. The bus was a steel lifeline, its engine rumbling like a heartbeat. I boarded, my shawl wrapped tight, Noah's kicks my only comfort. The driver, a grizzled man, barely glanced at me. "Seattle's a long haul," he muttered. I nodded, sinking into a back seat, the window cold against my cheek. As the bus pulled away, Willow Creek's lights faded, but Caleb's threat lingered. I pictured his green eyes, his knife, his vow to claim Noah. My hand rested on my belly, whispering, "You're mine, Noah. Only mine." The road stretched ahead, a ribbon of asphalt through snow-draped fields, each mile a step from hell. Riley Parker, my rebel ally, had planned this escape, her fire fueling my courage. She'd stayed behind, distracting Caleb at the festival, risking his wrath. I owed her everything. Her bike sold for my ticket, her notes my map to freedom. But guilt gnawed at me. Riley, Grace, Evelyn, they'd faced Caleb's fury for me. I prayed they were safe, but Caleb's pursuit was a specter I couldn't shake. At a gas station stop, I washed my leg in a grimy bathroom, the wound shallow but stinging. The mirror showed a girl I didn't know, pale, bruised, but alive. Noah kicked, a warrior's rhythm, and I vowed to be as strong as he was. The bus rolled through Nebraska's heart, small towns blurring past, each one a reminder of Willow Creek's cage. I ate Riley's cornbread, its crumbs a taste of defiance, but fear was a constant passenger. I scanned the road for headlights, half expecting Caleb's motorcycle to surge from the dark. A memory hit, Grace's tearful goodbye, her locket a weight I couldn't shed. "Why didn't you fight for me?" I'd asked, her silence a wound. Yet her final act, letting me go, was a spark of redemption. I'd be the mother she couldn't, shielding Noah from Caleb's poison. Night fell, the bus a cocoon of shadows. I didn't sleep, my eyes glued to the window, every passing car a threat. An old man across the aisle offered a blanket. "You look cold, miss," he said, his voice kind. I took it, wary. Fairview's lessons etched deep. Trust no one. Noah kicked, grounding me, his life a flame I'd protect at all costs. At a rest stop, I called Clara from a payphone, my voice trembling. "I'm Emma. Evelyn sent me," I said. Clara's voice was warm, steady. "Get to Seattle, girl. I'll be waiting." I hung up, hope flickering. But Caleb's vow, "I'll hunt you down," was a chill I couldn't shake. Dawn broke as we crossed into Colorado, the landscape shifting to rugged hills. My leg ached, but Noah's kicks were fierce, a call to keep going. The bus was half empty, its passengers a mix of drifters and dreamers, none noticing the girl with a secret. I traced the route to Seattle on Riley's map, its red circle a beacon. But doubt crept in. What if Caleb followed? What if Seattle wasn't far enough? I pushed it down. Noah's life my anchor, his future my fight. A week before, Grace had slipped me a note. "Caleb's watching you." Her warning was a knife, proof he'd never let go. I'd burned it, but its words lingered, a reminder of his obsession. Riley had seen him at the diner, his knife glinting as he asked about me. "He's unhinged," she'd warned, her eyes hard. I'd nodded, my knife sharper than my fear. But Caleb was a hunter, and I was his prey. One night, he'd cornered Riley, his voice a growl. "Where's Emma?" She'd lied, her switchblade ready, but his smirk said he knew. He always knew. The bus hit a pothole, jolting me back. Noah kicked, a silent plea, and I whispered, "We're almost there." But Caleb's shadow was a storm cloud, his knife a thunderbolt waiting to strike. I'd escaped Willow Creek, but not his reach. Evelyn's words echoed. "That boy's got the devil in him." I believed her, but Noah was my angel, and I'd face any devil to save him. Seattle was close, but so was my fear, a race I couldn't lose. This battle's just begun, and the next twist will rip your heart apart. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe and comment, "I'm here," to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The fight for Noah's life is raging, and you won't believe what's coming. The bus to Seattle was a lifeline rattling through the night, but Caleb's vow to hunt me down clung like frost on my skin. I was 14, 9 months pregnant with Noah, my legs still stinging from his knife, each mile a fragile step away from Willow Creek's hell. Noah's kicks were my heartbeat, urging me to keep fighting, but the shadow of my brother's obsession loomed large, threatening to drag us back. If you're still here, feeling this fear pulse through me, thank you. Comment, "I'm here" below, and let's keep running together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. February 1988 was a gauntlet, the bus a steel cocoon carrying me from Kansas to Washington. The journey was 18 hours, each one a battle against panic. My shawl hid Noah's weight, but not my dread. Caleb's green eyes haunted every passing car, his knife a specter in my mind. I pressed Grace's locket to my chest, its cool metal a tether to a mother I'd left behind. Her final plea, "Be safe," was a ghost. Her silence about Caleb's crimes, a wound I couldn't close. I whispered to Noah, "We're free now." But freedom felt like a lie when I knew Caleb was out there, his obsession a fire that wouldn't die. The bus stopped at a Wyoming diner, its neon glow a brief respite. I limped to the bathroom, washing my legs crusted blood, the mirror reflecting a stranger. Hollow eyes, bruised skin, but alive. Noah kicked, a fierce reminder of why I'd run. I ate Riley's cornbread, its crumbs a taste of her courage, but a man at the counter stared too long, his gaze sharp. "You from Kansas?" he asked, leaning close. My heart stopped. Caleb's spy. "No, sir," I lied, hurrying back to the bus. Noah's warmth, my shield. I sank into my seat, scanning the road, every headlight a potential threat. Seattle was a world away, but Willow Creek's claws were deep. Riley's map, creased and worn, was my guide. Clara's boarding house circled in red. I traced the route, each state line a victory, but doubt gnawed. What if Caleb followed? What if I wasn't strong enough? Grace's betrayal, her failure to stop Caleb, stung. But her locket was a spark of love I clung to. I'd be the mother she couldn't, shielding Noah from the monster who'd fathered him. At an Idaho rest stop, I called Clara, my voice shaking. "I'm Sarah Wilson," I said, using my fake ID. "I'm coming." Her reply was firm. "Get here, girl. You're safe with me." I hung up, hope flickering, but Caleb's words, "I'll take him," were a chill in my bones. Night draped the bus in shadows, its hum a lullaby I couldn't trust. I didn't sleep, my eyes fixed on the window, every passing truck a phantom of Caleb's motorcycle. A woman beside me offered a candy bar. "You look hungry," she said, her smile kind. I took it, wary, Fairview's lessons sharp, trust no one. Noah kicked, grounding me, his life aflame I'd guard with my own. The bus crossed into Washington, its mountains a stark contrast to Kansas's flat despair. Seattle was close, but so was my fear, a race against a hunter I couldn't see. Portland's skyline appeared at dawn, a brief stop before Seattle. My leg ached, but Noah's kicks were relentless, a call to survive. I stepped off to stretch, clutching my shawl, when a voice froze me. "Emma?" I spun, knife in my pocket, but it was Riley, breathless, her jacket torn. "I hitched here," she gasped, hugging me. "Caleb's on your trail. He beat up Evelyn's farmhand demanding where you went." My blood ran cold. Evelyn, Riley, Grace, all paying for my escape. "Is she okay?" I asked, tears welling. Riley nodded. "She's tough, but Caleb's unhinged. He knows you're heading west." I trembled. Noah's kick a plea. "What do I do?" Riley's eyes were steel. "Keep moving. I'll cover you." Riley stayed, her presence a shield. She'd seen Caleb at the Willow Creek bus station, his knife glinting as he questioned the clerk. "He's got money," she said. "Bribed someone for your route." My stomach churned. Caleb wasn't just hunting. He was buying my life. Riley had a plan. She'd mislead him, sending him to Denver, while I reached Seattle. "You're not alone," she said, pressing a 20 into my hand. I hugged her, tears soaking her jacket. "You're risking everything," I said. She grinned, fierce. "So are you, for that kid." Back on the bus, Riley's 20 joined my coins, Grace's locket a weight of guilt and love. I'd left her to Walter's wrath, Caleb's lies, but Noah was my priority. The driver announced Seattle, and my heart raced. Clara was waiting, a stranger who'd become my salvation. But Caleb's reach was long. At a gas station, a man watched me, his eyes too sharp. I hurried back, Noah's cries drawing stares. "Quiet, baby," I whispered, my knife a cold vow. The bus rolled on, Washington's forests a green blur, each mile a step toward safety, or a trap. Seattle's station was a chaos of noise and faces, its gray rain a curtain. I stepped off, my leg throbbing, Noah heavy inside me. Clara was there, a sturdy woman with gray braids and eyes that saw through me. "Sarah Wilson?" she asked, her voice warm. I nodded, tears falling. "Come on," she said, taking my bag. Her boarding house was a brick haven, its kitchen smelling of stew, my room a small sanctuary with a crib for Noah. "You're safe now," Clara said, but Caleb's threat lingered, a storm I couldn't outrun. Clara fed me, her gruff kindness a balm. "Trouble's chasing you," she said, eyeing my bruises. I shook my head, too scared to speak, but she didn't push. I collapsed onto the bed, Noah's kicks slowing, exhaustion claiming me. But sleep brought nightmares, Caleb's knife, Walter's fists, Grace's tears. A knock woke me, my hand grabbing the knife, but it was Clara with a letter from Evelyn. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Caleb's in Topeka, searching. Grace is sick, asking for you. Be careful." My heart sank. Grace, suffering, and Caleb, closer than I'd feared. I showed Clara, my voice breaking. "He'll find me." She gripped my shoulders. "Not here, Emma. You've got a son to protect." Noah kicked, a warrior's call, and I nodded, my knife sharper than my fear. But Caleb's hunt was a fire, and I was its fuel. This story's blazing hotter, and the next twist will shatter you. Don't turn away, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment "I'm here" to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The fight for Noah's life is fierce, and you won't believe what's coming. Evelyn's letter was a thunderclap, warning that Caleb was in Boise, his hunt for me, a relentless blaze. I was 14, 9 months pregnant with Noah, hiding in Clara's Seattle boarding house, but my brother's shadow was a noose tightening around my heart. Grace's illness, her plea for me, was a wound that bled guilt, but Noah's life was my shield against the pull of Willow Creek. If you're still here, feeling this dread choke my soul, thank you. Comment, "I'm here" below, and let's keep fighting together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. March 1988 was a crucible. Seattle's gray rain, a fragile curtain between me and Caleb's wrath. Clara's boarding house was my fortress, its warm kitchen and sturdy walls a haven, but safety was a lie. I'd wake to every creak, my knife trembling, certain Caleb's knife was at the door. Noah's kicks were fierce, a warrior's rhythm, but his unborn presence made me vulnerable. Clara saw my fear, her eyes sharp. "He's out there, isn't he?" she asked, scrubbing pots beside me. I nodded, tears burning, and told her enough. Caleb's abuse, Walter's fists, my escape. She didn't flinch. "You're not alone, Emma," she said, her voice steel. "We'll keep you safe." Work was my anchor, washing dishes, mopping floors, each task a step toward a future for Noah. Clara paid me in cash, her gruff kindness humbling. "Save it," she said, handing me a jar for coins. I did, dreaming of a home where Caleb couldn't reach us, but his threat loomed. One night, a boarder mentioned a man asking about a pregnant runaway at the docks, his green eyes unmistakable. My blood ran cold. Caleb was in Seattle, his obsession a fire burning closer. I showed Clara, my hands shaking. "He's here," I whispered. She barred the doors, her face grim. "He won't touch you, not on my watch." Noah's birth came on a stormy April night, pains ripping through me like lightning. Clara rushed me to a clinic, her hand gripping mine as I screamed through 20 hours of torment. Noah was breech, each contraction a war, but Clara's voice was my anchor. "You're tougher than this, Emma," she urged. With a final, shattering cry, he was born, a small, perfect boy with dark curls and those haunting green eyes, Caleb's eyes. I sobbed, cradling him, love drowning my fear. "You're mine, Noah," I whispered, vowing to erase his father's shadow. Clara wiped my brow, her eyes soft. "He's a miracle, like you." The clinic released me after 2 days, Noah's cries filling my nights, his hunger a challenge my body couldn't meet. Clara bought formula, her generosity a lifeline. "No one starves here," she said. I nursed Noah in our tiny room, his eyes trusting, unaware of the monster who'd created him. But Caleb's presence was a specter. A week later, Riley Parker arrived, her face bruised, her jacket torn. "He found me," she gasped, hugging me. "Beat me up in Topeka, demanding your trail." My heart sank. Riley, Evelyn, Grace, all paying for my freedom. "Is Evelyn okay?" I asked, tears falling. Riley nodded. "She's tough, but Caleb's got cash. He's bribing folks, tracking you." I trembled, Noah's warmth my shield. "What now?" Riley's eyes were fire. "Hide deeper. I'll misdirect him." Riley stayed, her defiance a bulwark. She'd seen Caleb at a Boise bar, his knife glinting as he questioned drifters. "He's obsessed with Noah," she said, her voice hard. "Thinks he's his legacy." The thought was acid, burning through me. Noah was mine, not Caleb's trophy. Riley helped me blend in, cropped my hair, gave me glasses, taught me to lose my Kansas twang. "You're Sarah Wilson now," she said, her switchblade glinting. But Caleb's reach was long. A note slipped under my door. "I know you're in Seattle, Emma." My blood froze. His handwriting, a vow of vengeance. I showed Clara, who moved me to an attic room, its lock heavy. "He's playing games," she said. "We'll play harder." Days blurred, Noah growing, his coups alight in my dark world. At 3 months, he smiled, unaware of the war raging for his life. I worked harder, saving for a place of our own, but Caleb's notes kept coming, taped to windows, left in alleys. Noah's mine. I burned them, my knife a constant weight, but fear was a living thing. Clara hired a guard, a burly ex-cop named Joe who patrolled the house. "No one's getting in," he said, but Caleb was a ghost, slipping through every net. One evening, Joe caught a man watching the house, his description chilling. Tall, green eyes, knife in his belt. "He ran," Joe said, "but he'll be back." I nodded, Noah's cries echoing my dread. I confided in Clara, my voice breaking. "He'll never stop, will he?" She gripped my shoulders. "You're a mother, Emma. That's your strength. Fight for him." Noah's smile was my courage, but Caleb's hunt was a storm closing in. I'd walk to the market, glancing over my shoulder, every stranger a potential spy. Noah's cries drew stares, his green eyes a beacon I couldn't hide. I'd rock him, singing to drown my fear, but Caleb's voice haunted me. "I'll take him." One night, I woke to a noise, a truck idling outside. I peered through the attic window, heart pounding, and saw it, Caleb's motorcycle, its headlight a predator's glare. He didn't move, just stared, his smirk a promise of pain. Clara burst in, her face pale. "He's here," she whispered, barring the attic door. "Hide in the crawl space." I grabbed Noah, knife in hand, and squeezed into a damp nook, his cries muffled against my chest. The boarding house shook as Caleb pounded the door below, his voice a roar. "Where's Emma?" he bellowed, glass shattering. Joe's shout answered, "Get out or I'll shoot!" Caleb laughed, his boots stomping, a predator circling. I held my breath, Noah's kick a silent plea, as Clara's voice rang out. "Police are coming!" Sirens wailed, faint but growing, and Caleb's curses faded, his motorcycle roaring away. But his final words chilled me. "I'll be back, Emma." Joe pulled me out, Clara's face bruised from a thrown bottle. "He's gone," she said. But I knew Caleb's hunt was far from over. Noah was his prize, and I was his prey. This storm's about to break, and the next twist will crush you. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe, and comment. I'm here to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The battle for Noah's life is at its peak, and you won't believe what's coming. The rain-soaked shelter in Vancouver was a fragile haven, but Caleb's vow to find me was a storm that followed from Willow Creek to Seattle and now across borders. I was 14, Noah's tiny cries my only anchor, his green eyes, so like his father's, a haunting reminder of the monster hunting us. Sister Agnes's shelter was a fortress, but Caleb's shadow was a blade at my throat, his obsession a fire I couldn't extinguish. If you're still here, heart pounding with mine, thank you. Comment, "I'm here" below, and let's face this nightmare together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. April 1988 was a desperate fight, each day a war to shield Noah from Caleb's grasp. Sister Agnes's shelter, a converted convent, had locked gates and vigilant nuns, but Caleb's notes were relentless, slipping through like venom. "I'm close, Emma." I'd burn them, my kitchen knife trembling. Noah's coos my only light. Agnes saw my fear, her steel-gray eyes piercing. "He's dangerous, isn't he?" she asked, folding laundry beside me. I nodded, tears falling, and told her enough. Caleb's abuse, Walter's fists, my flight. She gripped my hand. "You're safe here, child, but we'll stay sharp." I clung to her words, but safety was a lie when Caleb's hunt was a living thing. I worked in the shelter's kitchen, chopping vegetables, Noah strapped to my chest, his warmth keeping me sane. Agnes paid me in cash, urging me to save, but fear was a constant shadow. Caleb's spies haunted Vancouver. A man at the soup kitchen, his eyes too sharp, asked, "You from Kansas?" I'd flee, Noah in my arms, my knife a cold vow. Agnes caught another loiterer, his description chilling. Tall, green eyes, knife in his belt. "He's circling," she warned, posting a guard, Sister Ruth, at the gate. I trembled, Noah's giggles a painful contrast to my dread. Agnes moved us to a hidden attic, its walls thick, but Caleb's notes followed. Noah's mine. Riley Parker, my Willow Creek rebel, called from Seattle, her voice tense. "Caleb's in Vancouver," she said. I tracked him to a bar, flashing cash, asking about a girl with a green-eyed kid. My stomach churned. Caleb wasn't just hunting. He was buying my life. Riley had a plan. A ferry to Victoria, where a women's refuge could hide us. "It's an island," she said. Harder for him to follow. But ferries cost more than my savings, and Evelyn Hart's funds were gone. Clara from Seattle wired money, her note blunt. "Run, Emma. He's unhinged." I clutched Noah, his eyes trusting, and nodded. Victoria was my last chance. Sister Ruth, a former soldier, taught me to use a switchblade, its snap a jolt to my nerves. "Aim low," she said, her voice gruff. I practiced in the courtyard, Noah napping in Agnes's arms, each flick a vow to protect him. But Caleb's presence was a specter. One evening, a nun found a note in the chapel. "I'm watching, Emma." My blood froze. His handwriting, a death sentence. I showed Agnes, who barred the windows. "He's toying with you," she said. "We'll outlast him." I nodded, my knife sharper than my fear. But Caleb was a hunter, and I was his prey. The ferry to Victoria left at dawn, a high-stakes gamble. Riley arrived, her face bruised from a run-in with Caleb's thug. "He's got men watching the ports," she warned, her switchblade glinting. We planned it. Sister Agnes would distract Ruth, who'd grown wary of my fake ID, while Riley and I slipped to the docks. I packed a bag, Noah's clothes mixed with my knife and Grace's locket. Agnes gave me a scarf, her voice fierce. "You're a mother, Emma." "Fight for him." I hugged her, tears falling. "What if he catches me?" I asked. She gripped my shoulders. "Then you cut him down." The docks were a chaos of fog and shouts, each face a potential threat. I held Noah close, my switchblade hidden, Riley scanning the crowd. "There," she whispered, nodding to a man in a dark coat. Caleb, his eyes locked on the ticket booth, knife in his belt. My heart stopped. He was steps away, his smirk a predator's promise. Riley pulled me behind a crate, her blade ready. "Go now," she hissed, nodding to the ferry. I ran, Noah's cries echoing, my leg aching as I weaved through the fog. Caleb's voice cut through. "Emma!" The crowd stirred, but no one helped. Willow Creek's silence had crossed borders. I reached the gangway, the ferry's horn a lifeline, but Caleb's boots pounded behind. "You're mine!" he roared, shoving sailors aside. I dove aboard, Noah clutched tight and slammed a gate, my switchblade raised. Caleb lunged, his knife slashing the air, his face a mask of rage. "I'll kill you!" he screamed, but the ferry pulled away, its engines drowning his voice. He stood on the dock, fist raised, blood on his cheek from Riley's blade, his scream, "I'll find you," fading into the fog. I collapsed, sobbing, Noah safe in my arms, but his vow was a chain I couldn't break. The ferry to Victoria was a sanctuary, its sway a fragile hope. I sank into a seat, Noah's warmth my anchor, Clara's money my only wealth. The captain checked my ticket. Sarah Wilson, widow, a lie that saved me. I stared at the sea, Vancouver's lights fading, Caleb's face burned in my mind. He'd follow, his obsession a fire that crossed oceans. I whispered to Noah, "We'll make it," but doubt was a weight I couldn't shed. This fight's at its zenith, and the next twist will shred your soul. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe and comment. I'm here to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The battle for Noah's life is raging, and you won't believe what's coming. The ferry's hum was a fragile shield as it cut through the fog to Victoria, but Caleb's scream, "I'll find you," echoed like a death knell in my mind. I was 14. Noah's tiny body pressed against me, his cries a beacon in the gray dawn, his green eyes innocent of the monster who'd fathered him. Sister Agnes's shelter in Vancouver was behind us, but Caleb's hunt was a fire crossing borders, his obsession a chain I couldn't break. If you're still here, feeling this terror claw at my heart, thank you, comment, "I'm here" below, and let's fight this battle together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. April 1988 was a desperate sprint, each moment a fight to keep Noah safe. The ferry to Victoria was a lifeline, its sway rocking Noah to sleep, but my eyes never left the horizon, scanning for Caleb's shadow. My switchblade, tucked in my coat, was a cold vow. I'd kill before he touched my son. Grace's locket hung heavy, a reminder of a mother I'd left to Walter's wrath, her illness a guilt I couldn't shake. I whispered to Noah, "We're almost there." But Caleb's face, his smirk, his knife, burned in my vision, a predator I couldn't outrun. Victoria's docks were a blur of mist and noise, Sister Helen, Agnes's contact, waiting, a wiry nun with a scar on her cheek and eyes like flint. "Sarah Wilson?" she asked, using my fake ID. I nodded, tears stinging, Noah's warmth my anchor. "Come," she said, leading me to a refuge, a stone cottage hidden in a forest, its walls a sanctuary. Helen handed me formula, her voice gruff. "No one finds you here." I collapsed onto a cot, Noah's cries softening. But Caleb's threat was a storm cloud, his notes a poison that followed. One arrived that night, slipped under the gate. "I know you're in Victoria, Emma." My blood froze. his handwriting, a vow of vengeance. I showed Helen, my hand shaking. "He's here," I whispered. She barred the doors, her face hard. "He won't get past me." But Caleb's reach was a specter, his spies haunting Victoria's alleys. A fisherman at the refuge's soup line stared too long, his green eyes chillingly familiar. I'd flee, Noah in my arms, my switchblade a constant weight. Helen caught another loiterer, his description a gut punch. Tall, dark hair, knife in his belt. "He's closing in," she warned, arming the nuns with pepper spray. I trembled, Noah's giggles a painful echo in my dread. Helen moved us to a cellar, its damp walls a tomb, but Caleb's notes kept coming. "Noah's my son." Riley Parker called from Vancouver, her voice raw. "Caleb's in Victoria," she said. I followed him to a hostel, flashing bribes. My stomach churned. He'd crossed the water, his obsession of fire burning through my defenses. Riley was coming, hitchhiking to join me, her switchblade ready. "We'll stop him," she vowed, but I knew Caleb's hunt was a machine, fueled by Walter's stolen cash. I worked in the refuge's garden, weeding rows, Noah strapped to my back, his coups a light in my dark world. Helen paid me in cash, urging me to save, but fear was a constant pulse. "You're a mother," she said. "That's your strength." I nodded, my switchblade sharper than my terror, but Caleb was a hunter, and I was his prey. The refuge was a fortress, but Caleb's presence was a poison seeping through. One evening, a nun found a note in the chapel. "I'm watching, Emma." I burned it, tears falling, Noah's cries my only anchor. Helen posted guards, but Caleb's spies were shadows. A man at the market, his eyes too sharp, asked, "Got a kid with green eyes?" I'd run, Noah clutched tight, my switchblade a vow. Riley arrived, her face bruised from a brawl with Caleb's thug. "He's got a network," she warned, her switchblade glinting. "He's paying drifters to track you." My heart sank. Riley, Clara, Evelyn, all paying for my escape. "How do we stop him?" I asked, trembling. Riley's eyes were fire. "We don't run. We fight." Helen had a plan. A boat to Salt Spring Island, a remote refuge where Caleb couldn't follow. "It's isolated," she said, "but safe." Boats cost more than my savings, but Clara wired funds, her note urgent. "Run, Emma, he's a killer." I packed a bag, Noah's clothes mixed with my switchblade and Grace's locket. Riley gave me a gun, a small revolver from a pawn shop. "Just in case," she said, her voice hard. I hugged her, tears falling. "What if he catches me?" I asked. She gripped my shoulders. "Then you shoot." The docks were a fog-choked maze, each shadow a threat. I held Noah, my revolver hidden, Riley scanning the crowd. "There," she whispered, nodding to a man in a dark coat. Caleb, his eyes locked on a ferry, knife glinting. My heart stopped. He was steps away, his smirk a death sentence. Riley pulled me behind a barrel, her blade ready. "Go now," she hissed, nodding to the boat. I ran, Noah's cries echoing, my leg aching as I weaved through the mist. Caleb's voice roared. "Emma!" The crowd stirred, but no one helped. Willow Creek's silence was universal. I reached the boat, its engine rumbling, but Caleb's boots pounded behind. "You're mine," he bellowed, slashing through the fog. I dove aboard. Noah clutched tight and slammed a hatch, my revolver raised. Caleb lunged, his knife scraping the hull, his face a mask of rage. "I'll kill you," he screamed, but the boat pulled away, its wake swallowing his voice. He stood on the dock, fist raised, blood on his face from Riley's blade, his scream, "I'll find you," fading into the sea. I collapsed, sobbing, Noah safe, but his vow was a chain I couldn't break. This fight's at its breaking point, and the next twist will rip you apart. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe and comment, "I'm here," to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The battle for Noah's life is at its peak, and you won't believe what's coming. The boat's engine roared as it cut through the mist to Salt Spring Island. But Caleb's final scream, "I'll find you," was a venomous echo in my ears. I was 14, Noah's tiny body trembling in my arms, his green eyes innocent as we fled Victoria's docks, leaving my brother's knife and rage behind. The sea was a fragile barrier, but Caleb's obsession was a fire that burned across water, threatening to consume us. If you're still here, feeling this dread choke my heart, thank you. Comment "I'm here" below, and let's stand against this storm together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. May 1988 was a relentless battle, each moment a fight to keep Noah safe. The boat to Salt Spring Island was a lifeline, its sway rocking Noah to sleep. But my eyes never left the horizon, scanning for Caleb's shadow. My revolver, heavy in my coat, was a grim promise. I'd shoot before he touched my son. Grace's locket pressed against my chest, a reminder of a mother I'd abandoned to her illness, her guilt a wound I couldn't heal. I whispered to Noah, "We're safe now." But Caleb's face, his smirk, his bloodied cheek from Riley's blade, loomed in my mind. A hunter I couldn't outrun. Salt Springs docks were a quiet haven. Sister Ruth, Helen's contact, waiting, a stout nun with a limp and eyes like steel. "Sarah Wilson?" she asked, using my fake ID. I nodded, tears falling. Noah's warmth my anchor. "This way," she said, leading me to a refuge, a cedar cabin nestled in pines, its walls a fortress. Ruth handed me formula, her voice gruff. No one gets in without my say. I collapsed onto a cot, Noah's cries softening, but Caleb's note from Victoria, "I know you're here," was a specter. I showed Ruth, my hands trembling. "He's followed me," I whispered. She barred the doors, her face hard. "He won't touch you here." I worked in the refuge's orchard, picking apples, Noah strapped to my back, his coos alight in my dark world. Ruth paid me in cash, urging me to save, but fear was a constant pulse. Caleb's spies haunted Salt Spring. A man at the market, his eyes too sharp, asked, "Got a kid with green eyes?" I'd flee, Noah in my arms, my revolver a cold vow. Ruth caught another loiterer, his description chilling. Tall, dark hair, knife in his belt. "He's closing in," she warned, arming the nuns with batons. I trembled, Noah's giggles a painful echo in my dread. Ruth moved us to a hidden loft, its walls thick, but Caleb's notes kept coming. "Noah's my legacy." Riley Parker arrived from Victoria, her face bruised from another clash with Caleb's thug. "He's on the island," she said, her switchblade glinting. I saw him at a bar, bribing fishermen. My stomach churned. Caleb's obsession was a machine, fueled by Walter's stolen cash. Riley had a plan, a fishing boat to Haida Gwaii, a remote island where Caleb couldn't follow. "It's a last stand," she said, "but boats cost more than my savings." Clara wired funds, her note urgent. "Run, Emma, he's a killer." I clutched Noah, his eyes trusting, and nodded. Haida Gwaii was my final hope. Sister Ruth, a former boxer, taught me to aim the revolver, its weight steadying my shaking hands. "Hit the heart," she said, her voice gruff. I practiced in the forest, Noah napping in Ruth's arms, each shot a vow to protect him. But Caleb's presence was a specter. One evening, a nun found a note in the orchard. "I'm watching, Emma." I burned it, tears falling, Noah's cries my anchor. Ruth posted guards, but Caleb's spies were shadows. A man at the dock, his eyes too sharp, asked, "Seen a girl with a green-eyed kid?" I'd run, Noah clutched tight, my revolver a vow. Riley scouted the island, her switchblade ready. "He's got a boat," she warned. "He's paying locals to watch the docks." My heart sank. Riley, Clara, Evelyn, all paying for my escape. "How do we stop him?" I asked, trembling. Riley's eyes were fire. "We don't, we vanish." The fishing boat to Haida Gwaii left at midnight, a high-stakes gamble. I packed a bag, Noah's clothes mixed with my revolver and Grace's locket. Ruth gave me a scarf, her voice fierce. "You're a mother, Emma. Fight for him." I hugged her, tears falling. "What if he catches me?" I asked. She gripped my shoulders. "Then you end him." The docks were a fog-choked maze, each shadow a threat. I held Noah, my revolver hidden, Riley scanning the crowd. "There," she whispered, nodding to a man in a dark coat. Caleb, his eyes locked on a boat, knife glinting. My heart stopped. He was steps away, his smirk a death sentence. Riley pulled me behind a net, her blade ready. "Go now," she hissed, nodding to the fishing boat. I ran, Noah's cries echoing, my leg aching as I weaved through the mist. Caleb's voice roared, "Emma!" The crowd stirred, but no one helped. Willow Creek's silence was eternal. I reached the boat, its engine rumbling, but Caleb's boots pounded behind. "You're mine," he bellowed, slashing through the fog. I dove aboard, Noah clutched tight and slammed a hatch, my revolver raised. Caleb lunged, his knife scraping the hull, his face a mask of rage. "I'll kill you!" he screamed, but the boat pulled away, its wake swallowing his voice. He stood on the dock, fist raised, blood on his face from Riley's blade. His scream, "I'll find you," fading into the sea. I collapsed, sobbing. Noah safe, but his vow was a chain I couldn't break. The boat to Haida Gwaii was a sanctuary, its sway a fragile hope. I sank into a corner, Noah's warmth my anchor, Clara's money, my only wealth. The captain checked my ticket, Sarah Wilson, widow, a lie that saved me. I stared at the sea, Victoria's lights fading. Caleb's face burned in my mind. He'd follow, his obsession a fire that crossed oceans. I whispered to Noah, "We'll make it." But doubt was a weight I couldn't shed. "This fight's at its breaking point, and the next twist will crush you. Don't turn away, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment, 'I'm here to stand with me.' Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The battle for Noah's life is raging, and you won't believe what's coming." The fishing boat churned toward Haida Gwaii, its waves a frail shield against Caleb's vow to find me. I was 14, Noah's tiny body pressed against my chest, his green eyes innocent as we fled Salt Spring Island, leaving my brother's knife and rage in the fog. The sea was my last refuge, but Caleb's obsession was a fire that burned across oceans, threatening to consume us. If you're still here, feeling this terror grip my soul, thank you. Comment, "I'm here" below, and let's stand firm together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. May 1988 was a crucible, each moment a fight to shield Noah from Caleb's grasp. The boat to Haida Gwaii was a sanctuary, its sway rocking Noah to sleep, but my eyes never left the horizon, scanning for Caleb's shadow. My revolver, heavy in my coat, was a grim vow. I'd shoot before he touched my son. Grace's locket hung against my heart, a tether to a mother whose illness I couldn't face, her silence a wound I carried. I whispered to Noah, "We're safe now." But Caleb's face, his bloodied cheek, his smirk, loomed, a hunter I couldn't escape. Haida Gwaii's docks were a quiet haven. Sister Mara, Ruth's contact, waiting, a lean nun with weathered hands and eyes like coal. "Sarah Wilson?" she asked, using my fake ID. I nodded, tears falling, Noah's warmth my anchor. "This way," she said, leading me to a refuge, a log cabin hidden in a cedar grove, its walls a fortress. Mara handed me formula, her voice gruff. "No one finds you here." I collapsed onto a cot, Noah's cries fading, but Caleb's note from Salt Spring, "I'm watching," was a specter. I showed Mara, my hands trembling. "He's followed me," I whispered. She barred the door, her face hard. "He won't get past me." I worked in the refuge's kitchen, kneading bread, Noah cradled in a sling, his coos alight in my dark world. Mara paid me in cash, urging me to save, but fear was a constant pulse. Caleb's spies haunted Haida Gwaii. A logger at the market, his eyes too sharp, asked, "Got a green-eyed kid?" I'd flee, Noah clutched tight. my revolver a vow. Mara caught a drifter near the cabin, his description chilling. Tall, dark hair, knife in his belt. "He's here," she warned, arming the nuns with clubs. I trembled, Noah's giggles a painful echo in my dread. Mara moved us to a hidden loft, its walls thick, but Caleb's notes kept coming. "Noah's my blood." Riley Parker called from Victoria, her voice raw. "Caleb's on the island," she said. "He bribed a ferryman, tracked you to Haida." My stomach churned. His obsession was a machine, relentless. Riley was coming, her switchblade ready. "We'll stop him," she vowed, but I knew Caleb's hunt was a firestorm. I clutched Noah, his eyes soft, and whispered, "I'll die for you." Mara had a plan. A seaplane to Prince Rupert, a mainland refuge. But it was a gamble. Seaplanes were costly, and my savings were thin. Clara wired funds, her note urgent. "Run, Emma. He's a killer." I nodded, my revolver tight, Noah's life my only fight. The seaplane left at dawn, a final stand. I packed a bag, Noah's clothes mixed with my revolver and Grace's locket. Riley arrived, her face bruised from another brawl. "He's at the docks," she warned, her blade glinting. We ran, Noah's cries echoing, my leg aching as we weaved through the mist. Caleb's voice roared, "Emma!" He was there, knife raised, his smirk a death sentence. I dove onto the seaplane, Noah clutched tight and slammed the door, my revolver aimed. Caleb lunged, his knife scraping the fuselage, his scream, "I'll kill you!" cut off as the plane lifted, leaving him on the dock, fist raised, blood on his face. I collapsed, sobbing. Noah safe, but his vow was a chain I couldn't break. "This fight's at its zenith, and the final twist will shatter you. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe and comment I'm here to stand with me." Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The battle for Noah's life is at its peak, and you won't believe what's coming. The seaplane's roar faded as it touched down in Prince Rupert, but Caleb's vow, "I'll find you," still burned in my ears. I was 14, Noah's tiny body cradled in my arms, his green eyes a haunting echo of the monster we'd fled. Haida Gwazi's mist was behind us, but my brother's obsession was a fire that chased me from Willow Creek to Seattle, Vancouver, and beyond. If you're still here, feeling this fear pulse through me, thank you. Comment, "I'm here" below, and let's rebuild from these ashes together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. June 1988 was a fragile dawn. Prince Rupert's rugged coast, a new refuge after months of running. Sister Mara's contact, Sister Lydia, met us at the dock. A wiry woman with salt gray hair and eyes that saw my scars. "Sarah Wilson?" she asked, using my fake ID. I nodded, tears falling, Noah's warmth my anchor. "Come," she said, leading me to a shelter, a weathered lodge nestled in pines, its walls a haven. Lydia handed me formula, her voice gruff. "You're safe now." I collapsed onto a cot, Noah's cries softening, but Caleb's note from Haida Gwazi, "Noah's my blood," was a specter. I showed Lydia, my hands trembling. "He's hunting me," I whispered. She barred the door, her face stern. "Not here, child." I worked in the shelter's kitchen, stirring soups, Noah strapped to my back, his coos alight in my dark world. Lydia paid me in cash, urging me to save, but fear was a constant shadow. Caleb's spies seemed to follow. A man at the dock, his eyes too sharp, asked, "Got a green-eyed kid?" I'd flee. Noah clutched tight, my revolver a vow. Lydia caught a drifter near the lodge, his description chilling. Tall, dark hair, knife in his belt. "He's out there," she warned, arming the nuns with staffs. I trembled, Noah's giggles a painful echo in my dread. Lydia moved us to a hidden attic, its walls thick, but Caleb's notes kept coming. "I'm close, Emma." Riley Parker called from Salt Spring, her voice raw. "Caleb's in Prince Rupert," she said. "I tracked him to a bar, bribing loggers." My stomach churned. His obsession was a relentless blaze, fueled by Walter's stolen cash. Riley was coming, her switchblade ready. "We'll stop him," she vowed. But I knew Caleb's hunt was a storm. I clutched Noah, his eyes soft, and whispered, "I'll die for you." Lydia had a plan. Stay put, fortify the shelter, and wait him out. He'll slip up, she said, but my savings were thin, and fear was a weight. I worked harder, kneading dough. Noah's warmth my courage, but Caleb's shadow was a firestorm. Clara from Seattle sent a letter. "Grace is dying, Emma. She begs for you." My heart shattered. Grace, sick, alone with Walter's ghost, her guilt a wound I couldn't heal. I wanted to go, but Caleb's hunt made it a trap. I wrote back, tears falling, "Tell her I love her." Clara's reply was a gut punch. "Grace passed. Caleb's lying, saying you abandoned her." I sobbed, Noah in my arms, forgiving Grace in my heart, her locket a heavy relic. Caleb's lies were a blade, twisting her death into his weapon, but Noah was my shield, his life my fight. Riley arrived, her face bruised from another clash with Caleb's thug. "He's got a boat," she warned. He's circling the coast." My heart sank. Riley, Clara, Evelyn, all paying for my escape. "How do we end this?" I asked, trembling. Riley's eyes were fire. "We don't run, we stand." Lydia agreed, arming the shelter, but Caleb's notes were relentless. "I see you, Emma." I burned them, my revolver tighter, Noah's cries my anchor. One night, a crash woke me, glass shattering below. I grabbed Noah, revolver raised, and peered through the attic crack. Caleb's silhouette loomed, his knife glinting, his voice a growl. "Emma!" Lydia burst in, her face pale. "He's inside," she whispered, shoving me into a crawl space. I squeezed in, Noah's cries muffled, my revolver trembling. The shelter shook as Caleb roared, "Where is she?" Smashing furniture. Riley's shout answered, "Back off, you coward!" Her switchblade clashed with his knife, a scream piercing the air. Riley, hurt. Lydia's voice rang out, "Police!" Sirens wailed, faint but growing, and Caleb's curses faded, his boots retreating. But his final words chilled me. "This isn't over, Emma." Lydia pulled me out, Riley's arm bleeding, her face fierce. "He's gone," she said. But I knew Caleb's hunt was a firestorm burning closer. The police came, but their questions were sharp. "You're Emma Davis, wanted for theft in Willow Creek," one said, flashing my poster. I trembled, Noah in my arms. "That's a lie," Riley snapped, her wound dripping. "She's a victim, hunted by her brother." Lydia showed Caleb's notes, and the cops relented, but their warning was clear. Stay out of trouble. Trouble was Caleb, and he was everywhere. I couldn't stay in Prince Rupert, not with his spies, his notes, his knife. Lydia moved us to a hidden cabin in the woods, its walls a sanctuary, but Caleb's shadow lingered, a storm I couldn't outrun. Noah was my strength, his smiles a light in this abyss. At 6 months, he babbled, unaware of the war for his life. I'd sing to him, hiding my fear, but Caleb's notes were a constant threat. One arrived, nailed to a tree. "I'm coming for Noah." I showed Lydia, who armed the cabin. "He won't win," she said. But I knew Caleb's hunt was a machine, relentless, unstoppable. This battle's at its breaking point, and the next twist will crush you. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe and comment, "I'm here to stand with me." Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The fight for Noah's future is raging, and you won't believe what's coming. Caleb's knife was gone, but his vow, "This isn't over," hung like a noose in the Prince Rupert cabin. I was 14, Noah's soft breaths my only solace, his green eyes a painful echo of the monster we'd fled. Grace's death was a wound that bled guilt, and Caleb's lies, claiming I'd abandoned her, twisted the knife. If you're still here, feeling this pain sear my heart, thank you. Comment "I'm here" below, and let's forge a new life together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. July 1988 was a fragile rebirth. Prince Rupert's misty woods a shield after months of running. Sister Lydia's cabin was a sanctuary, its cedar walls a haven, but Caleb's notes were a relentless poison, nailed to trees. I'll take Noah. I'd burn them, my revolver trembling, Noah's giggles my anchor. Lydia saw my fear, her cold dark eyes steady. He's a ghost, she said, but we're stronger. She taught me to set traps, tripwires, alarms, her hands steady as she armed the nuns. I worked in the shelter's laundry, folding sheets, Noah in a sling, his coups alight in my darkness. Lydia paid me, urging me to save, but fear was a constant pulse. Riley Parker stayed, her switchblade a comfort despite her wounds. Caleb's gone quiet, she warned, her face bruised. That's when he's deadliest. My stomach churned. His silence was a storm brewing, fueled by Walter's stolen cash. Riley scouted the docks, reporting no sign of him, but I knew Caleb's hunt was afire, waiting to flare. I clutched Noah, his eyes bright, and whispered, "You're mine." Lydia had a plan. Stay hidden, build a life, wait him out. He'll slip, she said. But my savings were thin, and Caleb's shadow was a weight I couldn't shed. Clara's letter from Seattle was a gut punch. Caleb's spreading lies, saying you stole Noah from him. My blood boiled. He'd twisted his crime into my sin, using Grace's death to paint me a villain. I wrote back, tears falling. Keep Noah's truth safe. Clara's reply was a spark. Evelyn's fighting for you, Emma. Stay strong. Evelyn Hart, my Kansas savior, was rallying Willow Creek's few allies. But Caleb's lies were a poison, spreading fast. I sobbed, Noah in my arms, vowing to outlive his hunt, to give my son a life free of his father's curse. Noah grew. His first words, Mama, a melody at 9 months. I'd sing to him, hiding my fear, his green eyes a challenge I met with love. Lydia gave me a job sewing at the shelter, Noah playing at my feet, his laughter my redemption. But Caleb's notes returned, slipped under the cabin door. I'm still here. I showed Riley, her face hardening. He's taunting you, she said, sharpening her blade. We doubled the traps, but Caleb's spies were shadows. A man at the market, his eyes too sharp, asked, "Seen a green-eyed kid?" I'd flee. Noah clutched tight, my revolver a vow. In September, Mr. Thomas Reed, a retired fisherman who frequented the shelter, noticed Noah's giggles. "Fine boy," he said, his eyes kind. Wary, I kept my distance. But Thomas was different. No demands, just carved toys for Noah, his voice soothing. He'd lost his daughter, his grief a mirror of mine, and saw us as kin. "You're strong, Emma," he said, offering a job mending nets at his dock. I accepted, needing stability, but Caleb's threat loomed. Thomas sensed my fear, his gaze sharp. "Someone's after you, isn't he?" I nodded, tears falling, and told him enough. Caleb, Willow Creek, the hunt. He didn't flinch. "My cabin's empty," he said. "Move in, I'll watch your back." October 1988, we moved to Thomas's cabin by the coast, a weathered haven with a view of the sea. I cooked, mended nets, and cared for Noah, Thomas paying me fairly. Noah called him Papa, toddling after him, their bond a balm for my scars. But Caleb's notes followed, left in nets. "I know where you are." I showed Thomas, my hands shaking. "He won't touch you here," he vowed, installing locks, patrolling with a rifle. I wanted to believe him, but Willow Creek had taught me trust was a trap. I slept with my revolver, Noah's crib beside me, his soft snores my courage. Noah's first birthday in December was a quiet joy. Bread pudding, a wooden boat from Thomas, his off-key singing. I cried, not from pain, but gratitude. My son was alive, free, mine. But Caleb's shadow lingered. Riley's contact reported he'd left Prince Rupert, his trail cold. "He's planning something," she warned. I nodded, my revolver tighter, Noah's laughter my fuel. Thomas gave me a camera, urging me to capture Noah's smiles. "Make new memories," he said. I tried, but Willow Creek's scars bled. Grace's death, Caleb's hunt, my stolen youth. January 1989 brought a shock. Riley handed me a package from Evelyn, Grace's diary, sent before her death. My hands trembled as I opened it, her words a raw confession. I knew about Caleb, Emma. I was too weak. Forgive me. She'd tried to find me, but Caleb destroyed her letters, isolating her. A final entry broke me. I love you, Emma. Save Noah. I sobbed, forgiving Grace, her locket a symbol of love redeemed. Her diary was a call to fight, to live, to win. This story's rebuilding, but the next twist will stun you. Don't turn away. Smash that like button, subscribe and comment, I'm here, to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The fight for Noah's future is fierce, and you won't believe what's coming. Grace's diary was a beacon in the darkness, its pages urging me to rise above Willow Creek's scars. I was 15, Noah's laughter my lifeline in Prince Rupert's misty cabin, but Caleb's shadow still lingered, his notes a chilling vow that my brother's hunt wasn't over. Thomas Reed's home was a haven, yet every rustle in the pines made me reach for my revolver. If you're still here, holding my hand through this rebirth, thank you. Comment, I'm here below, and let's shape a future together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. February 1989 marked Noah's second year, his green eyes bright, his chatter, "Mama fish," a melody by the coast. At 2, he chased gulls, unaware of Caleb's threat, his innocence, my redemption. I'd snap photos with Thomas's camera, each smile a victory over Fairview's pain. But Caleb's notes persisted, left in fishing nets. I'm still here, Emma. I'd burn them. My revolver a cold vow, but his silence between notes was a storm brewing. Riley Parker, my rebel ally, scouted the docks, her switchblade ready. He's gone underground, she warned, her face scarred from his thugs. He's waiting. I nodded. Noah's giggles my shield, my revolver tighter. Thomas was my anchor, his fisherman's grit a contrast to Walter's violence. He'd carve boats for Noah, his stories of the sea a lullaby, while I cooked, their laughter healing my wounds. But Caleb's hunt weighed on him. Men like him don't quit, he said, his rifle always near. He gave me a job at his fish market gutting cod, Noah playing at my feet. Your family, he said, and I cried, not from fear but gratitude. Someone saw me as more than a victim. I saved every penny, dreaming of a home where Noah could grow free. But Caleb's shadow was a chain. Riley's contact reported Caleb in Vancouver, arrested for assault but released. He's desperate, she said, her eyes hard. That's when he's deadly. My stomach churned. His obsession was a fire burning closer. I doubled my vigilance, but Thomas had a plan. Stay here, he said. Build a life. He'll tire. I wanted to believe him. But Caleb's latest note, nailed to the cabin door, Noah's mine, was a gut punch. I showed Riley, her face grim. He's taunting you, she said, sharpening her blade. We set more traps, but Caleb's spies were ghosts. A man at the market, his eyes sharp, asked, "Green-eyed kid?" I'd flee, Noah in my arms, my revolver a vow. By 1990, Noah was 3, his curiosity blooming, asking, "Where's Daddy?" I froze, Willow Creek's scars bleeding. He died building ships, I lied, crafting a hero, not a monster. Noah nodded, his eyes trusting, and I vowed he'd never know Caleb's truth. We stayed in Thomas's cabin, Noah starting preschool, his drawings, boats, fish, my pride. I worked as a market clerk, my hands steady, my revolver hidden but near. Caleb's notes stopped, an eerie calm, but I never trusted it. Riley moved to Seattle, her visits rare, but her words echoed, "You're a warrior, Emma." In 1995, Noah was 8, excelling in school, his dreams of engineering sparking. Thomas, now frail, gifted us his cabin. "It's yours," he said, his voice weak. I cried, hugging him, Noah calling him Grandpa. Thomas died in 1997, his funeral a quiet ache. Noah, 10, stood tall, his eyes wet. "I'll make you proud, Mom," he said, and I knew he would. I saved for his college, working double shifts, Noah's laughter my fuel. But Caleb's shadow returned. A letter in 2000, no signature. I'm watching Noah. My blood ran cold. Was he back, or was it paranoia? By 2005, Noah was 18 at UBC, his engineering degree a beacon. He met Maya, a gentle teacher, their love a mirror of what I'd never had. I worked as a librarian, my life stable. But Willow Creek's scars ached. In 2007, Noah proposed to Maya, and I cried at their wedding, a grandmother at 42. Ava, their daughter, was born in 2009, her dark eyes mine, not Caleb's. I held her, tears falling, vowing to shield her from my past. Noah's success, his own firm by 2012, was my triumph, proof I'd beaten Caleb's curse. But Caleb wasn't gone. In 2015, a man watched Ava's school, his green eyes chillingly familiar. I gripped my revolver, Noah unaware, and called Riley. "It's him," she said, her voice hard. We hired guards, but Caleb vanished, a ghost I couldn't kill. I told Noah a half-truth. An old enemy, not your father. He hugged me, strong and steady. "We're safe, Mom." I nodded, but Caleb's final note, left on my porch in 2018, Noah's my blood, was a gut punch. I burned it, vowing to end his hunt, to protect my family. This story's rising from the ashes, but the final twist will stun you. Don't turn away, smash that like button, subscribe and comment I'm here to stand with me. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. The fight for my family's future is fierce, and you won't believe what's coming. Caleb's final note, "Noah's my blood," was a specter that haunted my peaceful life in Prince Rupert, a chilling reminder that my brother's shadow could still reach us. I was 57, a grandmother whose heart beat for Noah's family, but the scars of Willow Creek burned deep, urging me to end this nightmare. If you've stayed with me through this storm, thank you. Comment, I'm here below, and let's find closure together. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. It's 2025, and I'm Emma Wilson now, 70 years old, sitting by the Prince Rupert coast with a mug of tea, the sea's rhythm a balm for my scars. Noah's a grandfather, his engineering firm a legacy of the love I poured into him. His wife, Maya, and their kids, Ava and Ethan, are my joy, their laughter drowning out Caleb's threats. But that note from 2018 was a call to action, a vow to protect my family from his ghost. This story isn't just mine. It's for every woman caged by fear, thinking there's no escape. There is, and I'm here to show you how. In 2019, I hired a private investigator, Riley's old contact, to find Caleb. Noah didn't know. His father was still the shipbuilder I'd crafted, a lie I'd guard to my grave. The investigator found Caleb in a Boise slum, a broken man at 60, ravaged by drink and disease, still ranting about my son. My blood ran cold. His obsession hadn't died. I gripped my old revolver, its weight a memory, and chose to face him, not with violence, but with my truth. Riley, gray but fierce, came along. "We end this together," she said, her switchblade tucked away. We drove to Boise in spring 2020, the slum a graveyard of shattered lives. Caleb's shack was a rotting husk, its stench sour. I knocked, Noah's photo in my pocket, my heart a drum. Caleb opened the door, his green eyes sunken, his frame frail. "Emma," he croaked. No smirk, just defeat. I stood tall, Riley at my side, and faced the monster who'd stolen my youth. "You don't own me," I said, my voice steady. "You don't own Noah. You're nothing." His eyes flickered, rage, then shame. "I was sick," he mumbled, coughing. "Let me see him." I shook my head, Noah's photo a shield. "He's mine, Caleb, always." I turned away, leaving him to his ruin, Riley's hand on my arm, a quiet triumph. Caleb died that summer, a stroke in his shack, alone. I didn't mourn, but a weight lifted, Willow Creek's chains shattered. I burned his note, its ashes scattered in the sea, and vowed Noah would never know. Some truths are too dark, some lies too kind. Noah's life, his firm, his family, was proof I'd won, that love could rewrite a cursed bloodline. Ava, a doctor, and Ethan, a musician, call me Nana, their hugs healing my scars. I'm their strength, not their shadow, a grandmother who turned pain into purpose. But this story's more than survival. It's a call to live. I share it for the Emmas, the women trapped by family, fear, or silence. If you're out there, hear me. There's a way out. It might be a door, a window, or a path you carve yourself, but it's there. Find your Riley, your Evelyn, your Thomas, those who see you, not your wounds. Believe you deserve better, because you do. That's the miracle, not the seaplane, not Caleb's death, but the courage to seize your chance. I protected Noah with a lie, letting him believe in a father who never was. It's my final act of love, a shield for his heart. What did I learn? First, find your inner strength. It's there, even in your darkest hour. Dig deep for yourself, your kids. Second, seek help. Don't fear leaning on others. Friends or strangers can be your army. Third, guard your future. Sometimes, hiding the truth protects those you love. Fourth, fight for justice. Speak out, even if it's years later to heal. These lessons carried me from Willow Creek's wheat fields to Prince Rupert's peace, and they can carry you. Start today. Reach out. Stand tall. Rewrite your story. I never told Noah about Caleb, and I never will. His green eyes are just eyes now, not a curse, but a blessing I shaped with love. He's a father, a grandfather, a man who builds futures, not breaks lives. Ava's healing hands, Ethan's vibrant songs, they're my legacy, proof that evil isn't inherited, it's overcome. I'm grateful for Riley's fire, Evelyn's courage, Thomas's heart, even Grace's flawed love. They taught me family is choice, built on care, not control. Now at 70, I share this on the Grandparents' Tales channel, my voice steady, my scars a map of victory. Why now? Because time's fleeting, and silence is a chain I won't carry to my grave. I speak for the girls still caged, the mothers fighting for their kids, the survivors who feel alone. You're not. Your strength is your story, and telling it can set you free. If this moved you, do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe, and comment where you're from. Let's forge a chain of warriors. Share this with someone who needs hope, and if you can, leave a super thanks to keep these stories alive. What's next? A tale of a grandmother's fight that'll leave you stunned. Click the video popping up now, and don't miss it. Noah's family fills my days, their love my reward, but this story's for you. You're stronger than your pain, braver than your fear. Take that step, whisper or roar, and live. Willow Creek's ashes are gone, but Prince Rupert's mine, Noah's mine, and this life's ours. I chose love, not hate, truth, not lies, and I choose it again. Until forever, new life. Thank you for listening.